right, so new patch means new decks, right? I guess we're going to experiment with some new stuff, at least for this week. So we got, I like to call this Big Mama, because Big Daddy Vlad has a little partner here in the deck. So with that said, my name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works, and today we are going through, yeah, that's right, you heard that right. I did say Vlad. You don't have to do a double take. That Vladimir, the champion, the one that is terrible, I know. But we're gonna do this. We are gonna do this. We're gonna try this deck out, and on top of that, there's a wild Braum in the deck as well. Yes, this is Vlad Braum, probably two of the worst champions in the game right now. But you know what? I like the deck. It actually won some games, surprisingly enough. So we'll see how far we can take this deck. But if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video if you do like this weird concoction of a deck. And comment below if you got any deck ideas that you want me to do. I think there's actually a couple that I still have to get to that some people commented from before. But I'm always looking for new ideas. I love seeing these random new decks pop up. And I want to start to switch it up a little bit from some of these tournament competitive decks that I've been doing. So without further ado, as always, we're going to go through the deck real quick, followed by 2 games. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so here we have it. Good old Big Mama. And it has the name thanks to Scarmother Vrina. Vrina. We're going to go with Vrina. So there's 3 of these bad girls in here. I almost said bad boys, but I switched it up there. And then we got Vladimir as well, being the big dad Vlad that he is. So it's, you know, I've seen people make this deck in the past as well. It's basically a Battlescars deck, right? But I don't have that 1-drop, which actually is, where is she at? I guess I don't know her name because nobody plays her. Unscarred Reaver, that's the one. I had this in here originally, so you might see, I think it's the first game was pre the changes to the deck that I had made. There was Omen Hawk in here as well as this Unscarred Reaver. I ended up taking those out and kind of ditching the early game. And it seemed like if I went more all in on kind of like a mid-game strategy, that this deck worked out a little bit better. Because at the end of the day, it is a mid-range deck. I was really trying to go like the super aggro route because I have Imperial Demolitionist in here, but just wasn't working out. Imperial Demolitionist, though, is still pretty good. It does a lot of things, right? It finishes games, does that 2 damage that you need. Especially, you know, people underestimate, you have a big Vlad attack dealing like 4 or 5 damage to your opponent's face, plus you finish out the turn with Imperial Demolitionist. I mean, at the end of the day, that's 6, 7, or you know, well, actually, no, 7 would be the max, right? So that's like 6 or 7 damage that you're doing in 1 turn in just effects. That's not including any battle damage that might get through with Overwhelm units, right? So it's pretty good to finish out games. It also is an activator for things like Scarthane Stefan, things like Braum, things like Scarmother. So it's pretty cool. Now, my favorite card in the deck, this bad boy. All right, so, I love this card. Now, a couple things here. And this is why I don't know what I'll end up doing. I don't know if I'm going to add more, like, health buffs in here. I mean, there is only 1 Bloodsworn pledge for the time being. Ultimately, you want a Basilisk, a Scarmother. So, generally speaking, both Basilisks are going to be on a Scarmother. But if you're on turn 6 and you need to play a Scarmother, this deck does want to win by like turn 8 or 9. You kind of just got to go for it and then play this on, you know, whatever in the future. It's really unfortunate. I think they should actually buff this to go face as well. I don't know if that might break some other things, but you actually cannot. An enemy is not Nexus. It has to be an enemy unit. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, it's good for Scarmother. You can also level up Braum pretty quickly with it. So if you don't draw Scarmother, you draw Braum and you have, you know, Basilisk. This is a great combo. It also quickly levels up Vlad if you, for whatever reason, aren't already leveling him up by turn 5. Vlad gets leveled up ridiculously fast in this deck. It's also a target for Babbling Beard. On top of that, combat tricks. We got 2 Elixirs, 3 Transfusion, 3 Troll Chant, and then the 3 Noxian Fervor. Again, Noxian Fervor doubly good in this deck. You know, obviously you can prevent lifesteal, things like Grasp and stuff like that from going off, but most importantly, on top of it being a finisher alongside something like Imperial Demolitionist, this will this will also proc one of those effects, right? It'll proc Scarmother, it'll proc Stefan, it'll proc some of those other things that, you know, suddenly you're getting a lot of damage through. And that's the other cool thing about Transfusion in this deck is if they leave one unit unblocked with something like Transfusion, like Noxian Fervor, suddenly that unit can get a crap ton of attack by dealing damage to itself. So they do have to keep an eye out for that. One thing to note too is Scarmother and Basilisk have Overwhelm, so these are very much finishers. So that's kind of the goal. You finish off with 5, 6, 7. Vlad, Scarmother, Basilisk. Vlad is also super good against aggro. You want to try to get him down on turn 5. If he's leveled, you're pretty in the clear. Going to be able to drain back up. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into both games. Both are actually War Mothers games. This deck kills War Mothers, FYI. This is a War Mother killer. I'm not even kidding you. This almost always wins. You're going to see 2 games coming right up. All right, so we have 2 War Mothers games that we're going to be able to get to here. And like I said, oh my God, I was actually really impressed with how well this overtook War Mothers. I mean, it is kind of like I would attribute this to like kind of Scouts. It's kind of the same speed as like a Scouts deck, and I know Scouts definitely have an okay time with War Mothers, but I don't know. I think this actually did way better than Scouts does against War Mothers, so pretty good to see. Obviously, you're just mulliganing for 2, 3, and 4. You want 2, 3, and 4 curve, which is great. You don't have to worry about 1-drops in this deck since I did make those changes to take out the Omen Hawk. You actually see the shared spoils in there as well, was something that I was testing out. That is no longer in the deck. Ember Maiden was able to pretty easily proc that. Ember Maiden! Boy, is that a good card. I love Ember Maiden. I always have since it was released. I'm actually really sad that Ember Maiden doesn't get more play. It really hurts your opponent and what they can and can't play. You know, if you're being aggressive and you play an Ember Maiden, you're kind of forcing them into playing something to block, right? Because you don't want to, your opponent doesn't want to take damage. But that Ember Maiden will then also give you the opportunity to deal damage to whatever that blocker is. So it's pretty cool. I love the card. I think it's great. You can see here that we do have Vladimir on turn 5 as well. You do want to try to get Vladimir down as quickly as possible. This is unfortunate. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it is what it is, but for them to be using a Vengeance on the Vladimir is actually pretty good in this deck because that means that's 1 less Vengeance for something like War Mother's Verena. I always forget how to pronounce the name. So we're actually not too mad. You could have argued playing the Braum first there. That's also an option as well. I don't know if we would have gotten the Vengeance out on the Braum. Generally speaking, you actually do get the Vengeance out on the Braum. Braum in this matchup, though, is interesting because one of the things you have to do, like we're on turn 7 here, one of the things that we have to continue to worry about, especially with 2 Wording Stones on the board, is Ruination. If we continue to develop, we could just get blown out by Ruination, which is pretty terrible. Now, the good thing with Braum is that if we are able to level him up, that's pretty consistent unit generation, and it puts our opponent in a position where we're getting free units, but they still have to think about playing Ruination, which is pretty nice. So one of the reasons that we're open attacking is, again, because of something like Ruination. I mean, for all I know, my opponent isn't playing Ruination, which would suck terribly, but we are able to push through a little bit of damage. These Wording Stones are a pain in the butt, being able to block some damage. This Transfusion will help us out a little bit. I was actually thinking pre-combat to use this Transfusion to get the additional 3/3 Mighty Poro, which honestly, in retrospect, I probably should have done. I don't know really what I was expecting my opponent to play before that. I don't know. But that's one thing that I've noticed is actually really good about Braum now. So obviously, since Braum's buff, the first time he takes damage in his regular level 1 form, he does still get a Mighty Poro. And I found myself a lot of times, especially like Ember Maiden as an example, if your opponent ends their turn, before they end their turn, you play Ember Maiden, at round start, if you have a Braum on the field, it will immediately summon a 3/3 Poro. It gives you the opportunity, like this deck has amazing open attacks. And I think that's why it does so well against something like War Mothers. When you're open attacking with a Braum, an Ember Maiden, and a Poro, and then you have a Battle Trick on top of that, and this Poro has Overwhelm, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, almost every single open attack. So we were able to do, back to this game, we're able to do a lot of damage so far up until turn 8. We got him on 9. This is a little iffy, though, because we should be winning the game right about now. So we got to be really careful about how we go about this, because our opponent's going to start to have really big units. Because of the Tryndamere and the Trundle, we're going to have to lose something, probably. I don't understand. I forget what this Trundle gets buffed to. I don't know why my Braum gets pulled. Oh, no, okay. The Trundle goes up to 8, too. So, my Braum ends up getting pulled and leveled. I forget if it dies here or not, because otherwise this might be a misplay, because I just get a free level on my Braum, and it goes back up to 2 health. I don't know if they maybe forgot about the level up effect, Vile Feast, something like that. But, so then we have, all right, Noxian Fervor. So, because we have this Noxian Fervor in our hand, because we have the Basilisk in our hand, we are looking to close this game out. So you can already see we have the Vrina on board. Our opponent doesn't have Ruination this turn, so it's not going to happen. Oh, that's what it is. Just Grasp. Okay. All right. That makes sense. That's fine. We can go with that. This Noxian Fervor, as I mentioned going through the deck, crucial. This really was a 6 damage Noxian Fervor because you prevented the Grasp and you did an additional 3 damage with the Noxian Fervor, whereas otherwise it would have just canceled out the Grasp heal. So really, really good. We opt not to play the Ruthless Raider, I think, for 2 different reasons. A, we need to play this Basilisk on the Vriner, and then we wouldn't have any spots. B, we need something for redevelopment after we do that, because we need to still push through damage. It's really unfortunate the Ruthless is only at a 4. It's just short. Actually, no. So we ended up playing the Ruthless Raider first. So I'm curious as to why I might have went that route. Oh, okay. So I'm going all out damage. You know what? I forgot that they had another pillar is what happened. Because I was basically passing priority back over to my opponent by playing the Ruthless Raider, but they had another pillar to just pass it back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And because of that, at this point, I think I screwed up, and I noticed I screwed up. So at this point, I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm all in. I'm going to go ahead and go all in on the Vrina. And this is great. This is probably the situation you want to have on turn 9 or turn 8. I think you can have this on turn 7 as well, obviously. You're going to proc the Vrina 4 times with Basilisk, right? Which means she's 18 attack right now. And I still have the follow-up combat trick. So this deck runs 3 Fury of the North as well. Having Transfusion, having Fury of the North, having some sort of health buff to save the Vrina against something like this Avalanche is crucial in winning the game. Because this Transfusion single-handedly wins the game for me right here. If my opponent has another follow-up of Vile Feast or Unspeakable Horror or whatever, I'm not sure what they're playing, obviously, then I'm still dead. This Vrina is still dead. But I still have a decent field. I'm not sure. This Avalanche does damage to everything, so I think my Basilisk would actually still push through at least 2 damage if the Tryndamere blocks. But we have a 23 attack War Mother. All right, this is, oh my god, this thing is so good with Basilisk. Like I can't. This is literally the only reason I built this deck. I just wanted to play Basilisk on War Mother Skrina. It's War Mother, right? Is it Scar Mother? War Mother? I don't know, man. It's just a cool card. I like it. I've always loved the Battlescars decks, and it's really unfortunate that they just suck. They don't, because this deck actually isn't too bad. Because of something like Troll Chant, actually, which makes it incredibly better than it was previously. Now this game, Vladimir actually does some work. So we didn't really get to see Vladimir or Braum too much in that first game. We had Braum, but we didn't really use Braum to win the game, if that makes sense. We have Vlad super early here. You're going to see how quickly I can level the Vlad. Now, this first play here, too, with the Imperial Demolitionist onto the Ruthless Raider, generally speaking, you don't want to do this. You don't want to just waste that proc of dealing damage to something with the Imperial Demolitionist on the Ruthless Raider. Sure, it feels good because you're not taking the damage because of tough. Like, that's a tiny little combo, right? But you want it to activate something like Braum. The reason why we did that is to maintain a higher tempo than our opponent. This is War Mothers. We need to go aggressive, just like we did in the first game. We need to go as aggressive as possible. So something this Troll Ravager, which actually War Mothers typically does not play that. So this is probably more of like a Behold type War Mothers deck. I'm not sure if they play War Mothers in this game or not, but regardless, we can pull it with the Braum, which another good thing for Braum is that you can generally early against decks like this, you want to be pulling the larger blockers to deal more damage, right? And that's what we did on that first turn. So very important that we got that Imperial Demolitionist out early. Because we did that as well, you can see we already have a super wide board. We have a very, very wide board with Vladimir about to level up. And that's what you want. Like, you want as many units as possible with Vladimir. You're going to deal 4 or 5 damage every time you tackle Vladimir. Troll Chant, by the way. So, oh my god. A lot of times, people will go in on a Braum, or when you challenge something with a Braum, they're going to try to use some sort of combat buff, right? To end up killing the Braum. Or they do enough damage to the Braum, and then they have a follow-up with, like, Vile Feast or something like that. When you introduce Troll Chant in the situation, oh my god, it becomes nearly impossible for your opponent to get a good trade on the Braum. That's a 2-mana, 4 stat change in difference when everything's said and done. Vladimir, on the other hand, getting some huge value here. So we're able to get the Vengeance out of our opponent on the Vlad, and they still have the Braum to worry about, which is going to level up in a second. So like they're not getting crazy tempo gain just by killing this one Vlad. Plus, we're also getting the additional 4 damage that's going to be done with Vlad's effect. And again, you know, like, I agree that Vlad's bad, but I really, like, in certain situations, his effect seems so good. Like, 4 damage is a lot just for attack. Like, you're dealing 4 damage to Nexus. Like, when you think of something like Swain needs a Nexus strike to be able to deal 3 damage to Nexus. Vladimir literally just needs to attack with other units, and he deals damage to Nexus. I don't know. I love his effect. I just really wish... I don't know if he's going to get a rework again or whatever, but I don't know. He did work there, though. He's dealing that extra 4 damage that we need to go ahead and push through for this, against this War Mother's deck where we need to be aggressive, right? So beyond that, we did just get the Vengeance out. We are going into a turn where they don't have Ruination mana, so this is pretty typical gameplay. We want to go ahead and try to just go as wide as possible, take an open attack. We actually have Skirna as well as Basilisk in our hand, so like we could, the next couple of turns or so, go ahead and probably win with that. But I think we're able to take it away here, especially with the Fury of the North. Fury of the North, man, with Overwhelm, Fury of the North is pretty ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. You can see here, though, I actually don't win the game with Fury of the North onto, I think it's... Like, I would win the game if this was old Fury of the North, I think, based on the heal, because I would be up to 7. So that Ember Maiden would actually go up to 7 against that Withering Whale. So it doesn't matter because of the Catalyst Vans. But I don't know, just the nerf feels a little bit bad, but still, having Fury of the North with Overwhelm, pretty damn good in this deck. And yeah, we pick up another win versus War Mothers. Didn't even need Big Mama or Basilisk there. All right, and that's going to do it for Big Mama. And honestly, it's a really fun deck. It's super fun. To get Verna and Basilisk off is just very rewarding, and it just feels amazing. So I definitely recommend trying this deck out for fun. You can even play it in some of the higher ranks as well. It did all right. So, I always hesitate on recommending things for like ranked and like Platinum Diamond, just because I don't know. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. He's like, yeah, play Poros in Masters, man. Like, they're really good. Yeah, no. It's flat. He's terrible. Rip. But, anyways, as always, everybody. Oh, don't forget to put, again, if you watch all the way to the end, thank you. Don't forget to comment below with what other decks you want me to go ahead and take a look at or experiment with or whatever. But as always, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you. Peace out.